students who had their A-level results downgraded now face the battle to secure remaining university places. The government U-turn, which allows teachers' predicted grades to be used, means that pupils who missed out on their first-choice university places now face an agonising wait to find out exactly where they can study.
Joining us now from UCAS headquarters in Cheltenham is the Chief Executive, Claire Marchant. Claire, you're going to be dealing with hundreds of students this morning. I mean, you know, UCAS, it's a huge organisation. Many of us have been involved with UCAS over our years and our own careers and our own education. Do you even have the capacity? Do you have the person power to deal with the amount of requests you're going to be getting over the next few days?
So, yes, we do. We know 69%, nearly 70% of students have already got their first choice. So our job this morning is to make sure that we give those other students who perhaps have taken up an insurance place or a clearing place or are unplaced, to make sure that they get really high-quality advice. In my first bit of advice for students, as of last night when we had this last-minute change, is don't knee-jerk into anything, talk to your parent or guardian, and then probably, you know, look at your centre-assessed grade and actually say, do I need to contact my first choice university and have a conversation with them? And that would be my immediate advice for students. And then we can help them navigate through what is a complex set of choices they've got this year.
It's a heartbreaking set of choices, though, isn't it? Because they will be feeling the pressure. There will be a significant number of students who didn't get the grades to get their first choice university, who then accepted another place somewhere else, who now have the grades to get their first choice, but potentially those places will now be filled. I've got a comment here from Tracy saying, great news, but unfortunately too late. When my son contacted his university, a Russell Group university, they'd already filled his place. So it's going to be a really difficult time, isn't it, for pupils who are then faced with thinking, well, if I can't get my first choice, do I then hang on for next year? What are my options? The whole thing is a mess for them.
It is a complex set of choices. I think for Tracy, I would advise keep having that conversation with the first choice university, because what I have seen over the last 4 or 5 months is universities being super flexible. You know, universities want to take these students. We've had the removal of student number controls. What they also need to just balance with is obviously universities are also having to take into account the safety of their students. So things like social distancing and where there are placements to do with a course. So particularly you think of medicine and nursing as an example of that, or lab premises that need to have social distancing, and universities are balancing those constraints as well. But what I have seen the last 4 or 5 months is universities will want to take the students and be as flexible as they possibly can be.
But there will be some situations, Claire. I can imagine a student has probably rang up the first choice university who probably said, well, we're already full up now, and I'm afraid you can't have your place at the degree course that you really wanted to do, that you had your heart set on. What advice have you got for that young student now?
Well, certainly contact us. We've got extended social media hours, so we can help navigate you through. I mean, I think universities continue having the conversation as well, because universities are reacting to this fairly real time, like we all are.
When you say continue having that conversation, when you say continue having that conversation, what should they be saying? I mean, if you call up the university and say, look, the space is gone, when you say continue having that conversation, what should they be saying as a young student to the universities?
Well, I mean, I was engaged with 450 admissions professionals across the 4 countries of the UK just last night, and they are reacting to this much the same as all of us. So when I say continue the conversation, I mean, don't just have one conversation, perhaps ring back for a second. And it may be that the university says, actually, we want to defer you for a year. It may be they want to offer you something different. So just talk to the university, and I would encourage you to do that for your first choice, bearing in mind, if you're one of the nearly 70% have already got your first choice, just look forward to the next stage of your journey, because you're part of that lucky majority that have got your first choice already.
Claire, who's to blame for all this? Because Ofqual are saying that the government wanted them to sort out a way of getting around the grade inflation that the predicted marks from the teachers had given them. Gavin Williamson is saying, well, you know, this algorithm was put in place that he didn't know the details of. It all seems to be a bit murky about actually how we're in this situation.
I think decisions were made, and they were made across all 4 countries of the UK in times of a pandemic, you know, back in the times when schools were closing and exams were cancelled. So right at the beginning of lockdown, my job is not to second-guess who's to blame. My job is to help navigate, you know, potentially 70,000 students through what is a complex set of choices now, and has had last-minute changes both last week and this week. So that's where we're focusing, rather than second-guessing, you know, who's to blame for perhaps some decisions made back in April, May.
I think there are those people who are just going to be wanting to find out exactly what went wrong here and are wanting to find out why this wasn't thought of in advance, because we've got so many students getting in touch with us who feel that their lives have now been blighted because of these decisions that were made.
I absolutely understand students, and I've spoken to a student just this morning who is, you know, in that anxious place. That's where we can, you know, and we've proven that over the last 4 or 5 months with massive engagement through our social media channels, help reduce that anxiety, help them navigate through. But you know, as I say again, you know, my job is not to second guess decisions that were made by others in April, May at the height of a global pandemic.
But can I just ask, though, but, you know, we know that UCAS get the results before the students do. Obviously, you need to get through all the administration that's coming ahead. At what point did you, as Chief Executive of UCAS, realise that actually this algorithm that is being used by Ofqual and by all the qualification bodies is actually going to cause an absolute crisis, which you're in now? When did you realise that?
Pretty much the same as everybody else, and so we are reacting like everybody else around elements of the algorithm. So I saw the Association of Colleges produced some analysis at the weekend around colleges particularly, and so that was fairly news to us. I think any algorithm, regardless of how it is, you know, developed, devised with the best of intentions, algorithms have unintended consequences, and that's what we're seeing play out here. But I do go back to, you know, the key message for students and parents and teachers and advisors, which we're in regular contact with today, is how do we help those students navigate through the next days and weeks? And I think that's where the focus needs to be, is helping those students. And there will come a time, I'm sure, when people want to ask questions about algorithms and decisions made back in the spring. But my priority at the moment is, like the student I spoke to this morning, to help them make a set of choices for their future, given where we are.